Welcome to the Hunchtime podcast. This is the second edition of our Serie A section and Italian football section with Paolo. Paolo, thanks a million for joining us again.
Hello, thank to you, thank to everybody.
Mr. Lunchtime is here with me again. Mr. Lunchtime.
Good evening, lads.
This Italian football has fascinated me more than football from anywhere else in the world. For the 100 years, Italian football from the 1900s up until the year 2000 was the football. It attracted all the best stars from all around the world. And then from 2000, or say 1992, when the Premier League was invented, Italian football since then has started to decay a little bit, Paolo, I would say.
Yeah, there was this. I think it has been more recently, to be honest. I think it started to go down a little bit after 2006 or 2010, more or less. That is when, yeah, some players left Serie A. Maybe the economical crisis started to hit seriously. Even some clubs, and what I think was the biggest problem in Italy was that a lot of clubs weren't managed in the right way. You look at Inter, you look at Milan. They had some strange years, I would say, because they had to change presidents, they had to change people in the board. So all these instabilities can lead to problems and also economical ones. I think I can mention Inter, I can mention Milan, I can mention Roma even. They've had some up and downs, but I would say more downs than ups. Also, yeah, I think that the most important thing was due to the instability in the boardrooms, in my opinion, of course.
I think the economy in Italy was hit worse than any
Yeah,
other in Europe, apart from maybe Greece or Ireland, but definitely one of the
yeah,
biggest hits in the world.
yeah. That was bad. I mean, the crisis, if I'm not wrong, it started in 2008. That was like when it blew up, but the upcoming years, the following years were difficult. And when there are big changes in society, I think you see them reflect on sport, because sport is a big element in society. So yeah, you see the difficulty of the societies, you see them in sport, or in this case in football. So yeah, I think this is deeply connected and rooted.
As well as that, something I was reading about this week, the stadia were mostly built for Italia 90 and renovated for Italia 90, and they're owned by the
Yeah.
councils. They're not owned by.
Yeah.
So in England, your main revenue stream is going to be Old Trafford with 82,
Yeah.
Tottenham's new stadium, and some of the new stadia are like they're kind of ghostly and no atmosphere. Like Highbury used to be called the Library before it was the Emirates, and now it's
Yeah.
just totally without atmosphere. But still,
Yeah.
usually they can't generate, and stadiums seem to be crumbling a little bit.
Yeah, I remember that Wenger, when they left Highbury, they said that they had left their soul in that stadium. So it makes you understand how important the stadium is for them. And yeah, I mean, Italy has another problem with Italian football is our stadia, as you said, because most of them are not owned by the team, and that can be an issue. You see big teams, as I've mentioned earlier, like Inter Milan or AC Milan, they don't own the stadium. It's part property of the property of the town hall of Milan town hall, let's say. Same goes with Napoli. Same goes with Roma. And the bureaucracy and the slowness that are typical of Italian society reflects also in the way football teams have to behave, because some years ago Roma were trying to build a new stadium because the Olimpico is quite old. They wanted to build a new one, restructure and so on. But the measure was she opposed her. She was strongly against these projects. She was strongly against anything new. So you have on the one side, maybe for example in the case of Roma, foreign investors, because they're American, that want to spend money, they want to invest, and on the other side you have the politics that is strongly opposed to any sort of change. So this is not great, because the soul of a team is, at the end of the day, is especially the stadium. And when everything around the society, sorry, everything around the football club is not pushing in the right direction, well, then you have these situations where just few football teams in Italy have their own football stadium, and it's kind of a mock experience, I will say.
I think that Roma situation, that was James Pallotta, an Italian,
Yeah.
well, an American, but he was of Italian parentage. He bought Roma for
Yeah.
70 million in 2011. Now,
Hmm.
can you imagine buying a Premier League club for 70 million? And like Roma is a
I
big club, big tradition, huge fan
how
base. And
it would be crazy.
pretty much the mayor, this is conjecture, but the mayor of Rome basically, because of that stadium debacle, made him leave. But he sold it 9 years later for almost 200 million, 199 million. I think
Yeah,
that
I mean,
showed all the American investors that, hey, maybe Italian football could come back. Maybe there's something here.
yeah, there are quite some Americans coming into Italian football. There is now, I mean, now they've changed. Now the name of the family-owning club is Friedkin. There is also what's his name? I think it's Saputo owning Bologna, if I'm not wrong. Then you have a American owner also for Venezia that has been investing a lot. And yeah, apparently there are a lot of American investors coming to Italy. Also, there was, I don't remember his name, but there was these other American investors that was trying to to buy the team from my town, Catania. It's a
Oh,
third league team. So yeah, but eventually the deal collapsed for, I don't know, bureaucracy, or they weren't agreeing on the price. So even in lower divisions, there are foreign investors that are trying to enter Italian football. That usually it is very um, how do you say, foreign proof. Usually we try to, both for players and for managers, but also for owners, we try to look in our in our country rather than abroad. Like now they've changed. Now they are foreign. The owners are foreigners, but Inter and Milan have historically been owned by Italians. For example, Moratti at Inter, and well, Berlusconi for a lot of years at Milan. Now they've changed, but yeah, they are historically Italian-owned teams.
I think that's what held them back, because the Premier League and the two Spanish giants being able to spend freakish amounts of money. And like teams like, for example, Fulham or Watford in the Premier League, when Fulham came up, they spent something like 200 million. And like then you're competing with Juventus for players, which is just such a bizarre scenario. I remember Jean-Michel
Yeah,
Seri he went to Fulham, and he's still there actually, but going to a promotion club, and Italian clubs not being able to sign him because they don't have the financial strength of basically a championship team.
But the
yeah,
one thing, sorry, Paolo, the one thing
yeah.
though
Go for
about
it.
the American owners is that, right, they might sign players, but they're trying to make quick money as opposed to what the Premier League teams are doing, just spend, spend, spend. And like, say, for example, Fiorentina, if they got an American owner, they can
Yeah,
see the potential of the club to pull money out more than put money in, more as an investment. So I think they have to be careful with that as well, because that's not going to like level the playing field either. Obviously, what everybody needs is oil money, but there's not enough of that. There's not enough of that to go around, I don't think. But I suppose it is a start though for the Italian clubs to start getting investment from abroad. It'll definitely help the league to prosper anyways in the next few years.
yeah. I think that, yeah, I think that the point is not if the investment is a foreign investment or a non-investment. What is needed, especially in this period when football is coming out of a big crisis like the one experienced with the pandemic, the important thing is to get investments, is to get people putting fresh money and smart money, I will say, into the arena. Because if you have just, I don't know, random investors coming into the scene and spending millions, I don't see anything good happening. And whereas if you have people that have a knowledge of the sport, have a knowledge of what could happen around the sport, well then yeah, society, championships, and teams can grow a lot, I think.
Although on top of that, I want to put a contrast in here between the investors in, say, QPR and Fulham, and the investors
Mhm.
in Brentford, who basically moneyballed a championship
Mhm.
team into using analytics. Maybe
Yeah,
you
that is.
can talk about this a bit more than I can.
Yeah, I followed a little bit reading something Brentford, and I think it's very interesting. I've seen that their model of signing players has been, as you said, on data. They've gone and signed players that are maybe under the radar, but according to big data and according on how they've studied them, well, they actually fit into the team. I remember reading about this Danish player. I don't really remember the name of, and maybe it was like almost in his 30s, I think. So maybe it wasn't that young talent anymore. But in any case, they've seen that his stats were good. According to the numbers, he will fit well inside the team, and eventually they brought him in, and he did fairly good. I honestly don't remember the name, but they've done a lot of this using numbers, using stats
That was
to bring players in.
Pontus Jensen. I just remembered, Leeds captain.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean,
But
that's something.
sorry, Paolo, they also don't have an academy.
Oh
And
yeah, they've got that's right.
but what they do is they keep an eye out for kids that are released from like the Man United academy or the Juventus
Yeah,
academy, from the top clubs, who they feel,
yeah,
well, he must have had something. Watch him for a
yeah.
year or two, and then just sign him for 200,000.
Yeah. Now that now
Mad
that
like.
you, now that you mentioned that, I remember this. They've seen that in a big Brentford is a London-based team, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I've seen that. What they've realized is that they were like, okay, in London there are several teams that are better than us, that have a better reputation than us. So okay, let's shut off the academy and let's just concentrate somewhere else, because the kids will end up going at maybe Chelsea, Tottenham, um,
Arsenal, West Ham.
Arsenal academy. Yeah, like there are a lot of teams in London. It's full. So yeah, that's what you need in football: smart investments, people that realize what to do and what not to do, because maybe while everybody is investing in academies, the Brentford board made a smart move, saying, okay, maybe we don't need academy. It's not something we have to rely on, and
I'm
apparently
I'm
it's
not
paying off.
100%. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they also own FC Copenhagen, who have been Champions League regulars and winning the Danish league for
I
literally yearly.
I I don't know if the owners are the same, but there are maybe some scouts or some players that have, sorry, some scouts or some people in the boardroom that have worked for both, but I'm not sure, honestly. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I think I've read that before. I could be completely wrong now, but
Huh.
it's just interesting because I'm pretty sure they played the same way they did the
Huh.
Moneyball
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah,
style.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's quite interesting.
yeah, no, but yeah, no. So that's the way things go. But that's what a few Moneyballs and owners in Italy would be very good for some of the mid-table teams, anyways.
Yeah. There are, this year, as I was mentioning, we have Venezia that has been recently promoted after, I will say, at least 20 years, even more, maybe even more. And they are an historical team, especially from an historical city. They have an interesting stadium that you can reach mostly by boat. So there are,
Yeah.
I've seen some pictures of players reaching the stadium by boat, because Venezia is basically on the sea. And yeah, they've brought also foreign players from northern countries such as Denmark, for example. And honestly, let's see if they're going to be able to stay in the top flight, because, as I've said, it's an historical team, and it will be nice to see them staying more than 1 year in Serie A.
I hate to be overly punny, but yeah, hopefully they can tread water in the first division for a little while. They actually, an American owner, Duncan Niederauer, he's one of these new American owners. He took over Venezia
Okay.
in,
Yeah.
God, I cannot remember,
Yeah.
but
That's the guy. Yeah.
maybe C or something like that, and then he's brought them up from there. But pretty cool story. Certainly a
Yeah.
stadium I'm definitely going to check out. In terms of the other clubs, like for the relegation, it looks like the bookmakers think that the three that came up will go down, or probably they're looking at Salernitana as the favourites to go down.
Yep.
Have you had a chance to watch them over the years? Did you any insight into that club? I haven't seen them in Serie A for many years.
Mm, I honestly don't remember. They haven't been in Serie A for a lot. I haven't checked how much, but it has been a lot. And they've been going between the second division and the third division. But yeah, I honestly don't remember when it was the last time they've played in Serie A, and this season they are not doing really good. I was just checking; they've conceded 17 goals so far. Yesterday, the main coach Castori has been sacked, so other changes on the way. They've had a very interesting sign this year because they've signed Simi from Crotone. Maybe it's not very well known abroad. I'm not sure, but he's a Nigerian striker that has really scored a lot. And considering where he has played for Crotone, that is a team that has always fight for relegation. Last year was eventually relegated, but Simi scored at least 20 goals. I don't want to give an inexact figure, but it was around 20 goals, and it has been like this in the past seasons. But so far, he has just scored one goal this season. Salernitana is doing really bad. So yeah, if they cannot change things around with the new manager, it's going to be difficult. So yeah, now talking about the Devil.
The
Oh yeah,
Nigerian Peter Crouch, I call him Simi. I really loved watching him. I
yeah,
saw
yeah. Okay,
that interview with him 2 years ago when he was in the second division with Crotone.
Crotone. Yeah,
Uh, and he, 70 goals for them around in 150 games.
yeah,
He was
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really
It
prolific.
was.
I thought a Premier League team that comes up this year has to sign him. You have to give him a chance.
I don't know if he's ready for Premier League, but it's surely an interesting prospect. Let me check. I was just checking some stats. Yeah, he's 29, and last year he has scored. Well, let me just to be sure. Well, he has scored 20 goals. Yeah, I wasn't wrong. I mean, 20 goals are a lot considering that he was playing for a team that has been relegated. So,
That's extraordinary.
if he can do the same for Salernitana, you never know. You never know.
Mr. Lunchtime, anything to add? What I'd like to go on to next, Mr. Lunchtime, you might give me. So we're looking at so far, as you look at the league, the bookmakers have Napoli as the favourite, followed by Inter Milan at 3-1, Juventus 4-1,
Yeah.
AC Milan 5-1, and Atalanta 14-1, Roma 25-1. So there's a clear top four teams who they believe are in with winning the league. The two Milan teams, Juventus and Napoli. Mr. Lunchtime, who's your favourite out of them to win the league?
Well, Napoli have made an unbelievable start. They've won their first 8 games, and they have opened up. Like Milan, AC Milan are only 2 points behind them, and then you have Inter, who are another 5 points back. I think they're struggling with Conte gone and Lukaku gone, as any team would. I'm just taken by Juventus in the last few weeks. I know they're still 10 points behind Napoli. They still have to play them twice, which could be 2 6-pointers. They're really getting their stuff together under Allegri. He's back in the door. We talked about this last time. They're getting back to that. The one thing I like about them is the Serie A has gone very attack-minded. You see a lot of games now, 2-2s and 3-2s and all that sort of stuff. Juventus have won their last 3 games 1-0. And if they're going to keep keeping clean sheets, the other teams don't keep clean sheets. We see it enter the weekend. They went to Lazio, they lost 3-1. Now, Napoli, in fairness, have only conceded 3 goals, which is fairly impressive. But there's just something about Juve that I like. Obviously, their defence, everybody knows Chiellini and Bonucci, De Ligt and all that. And they're a bit light up front. We talked about that before. They're strong in the middle with the likes of Locatelli and that. But I just like them. I think they could claw that back. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them win the league at this stage. Obviously, Napoli have to be favourites. They've just started a whirlwind, really. They've scored 19 goals in their first 8 games, which is very impressive. And I just like Juventus. I don't trust Napoli. They have a lot of the same players that they've had over the last kind of 6 or 7 years. I wouldn't like to say they've bottled it in the past, but they've had their opportunity. In the last, maybe when Juventus were in their pomp, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Napoli they were always the team to go kind of toe to toe with them in the middle of that. Juventus win 8, Paolo, in a row, or 7?
Sorry?
How many did Juventus win in a row titles? Was it 7?
No, it was 9. I'm pretty sure it was 9. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 9. Yeah. Yeah,
And
it has been a very long streak.
when they won like the sixth, seventh, maybe the fifth one,
Uh,
Napoli were the team to challenge them.
yeah, it was in 2018. And it was the year when Juventus, I think, was the closest to lose the championship. I think this was one of the most difficult year because with 3 or 4 games to go, Napoli eventually won against Juventus, and they were very close. I think they were Juventus was just 1 or 2 points clear ahead of Napoli, and yeah, they eventually managed to win because Napoli lost against Fiorentina in the penultimate game, if I'm not going wrong. And yeah,
Yeah.
but also there was another year when Juventus. I mean, 9 years are a lot. So I remember another year when Juventus was really suffering. It must have been 2014, 2015, something like this. And the first part of the season was really bad, like this one. Then after a game they lost against Sassuolo, the most important players of the team, like Bonucci, Chiellini, or Buffon, they met in the dressing room with the whole team and they were like, guys, we need to turn things around. And eventually they turned things around. They won the derby against Torino, and they went on winning the title at the end of the year. I think
Sorry, something
yeah,
similar has happened this year. They won the derby late against
you
Torino a
see,
few weeks ago,
yeah,
1-0, and since then they've just been the old
that's
Juve.
that's
Yeah,
absolutely true. And there are in fact some people that have seen some sort of something similar between what has happened this year and what has happened. I think it was back in 2014-15 season. The bad start, then the derby against Torino to turn things around. They also won 1-0 back then. It was Quadrado scoring back then. Now it was Locatelli, the new guy in town. So who knows? I think the team is a little bit weaker if compared to the to last year's Juventus, because of course they lost Ronaldo, but I think the man that really could turn things around is Allegri, because I really have trust. I mean, I really trust the guy. I think he's a really good manager, a really good coach. So maybe he doesn't offer the most entertaining football, but this is something else. This is another topic.
yeah, and just one final thing on Napoli is, right, they've beaten Juventus in game 3 when Juventus were kind of, but since then, like, they haven't really played any of the top teams yet, bar that game. Like, they haven't played Roma, they haven't played Inter, they haven't played Lazio. Like they've played a lot of the lower teams that they should be beating anyways. And I think the fixtures have been very kind to them. Like, I see they've played Genoa and Udinese, Sampdoria, Cagliari, Torino. Like, they're good games to start off the season under the new manager. I wouldn't be surprised if that all went at
You
some
don't
stage.
trust Napoli. You don't trust
No,
Napoli.
and I don't trust Spalletti either to go with that.
I don't know. I mean, I see your point. Like, I really agree, but you know, it's just part of the championship. This year, Napoli maybe had the easiest fixture at the beginning. Next year is gonna be Inter. Is gonna be in 2 years Juventus. So, at the end of the day, you really have to play against each other. So yeah, you're right. Maybe they had they have easy games to start with,
Yeah.
but on the long run, like, I think they will challenge. I don't know if they're gonna win, but for what we've seen from these first games, I think they will challenge. But yeah, whether they're gonna win, that is something difficult to say.
If I made you pick now, who would you pick?
That's something very difficult. Uh, I would say Juventus. Come on, I will say Juventus. But it's just like only if I am obliged to pick. But otherwise, I wouldn't pick, because this year it is always difficult to make a prognostic. But this year, even more, I think.
I think just from my side, I think what Lazio have built, I know they have a lot of similar players over the last few years. But what Spalletti has this year that they didn't have other years is loads of attacking options, like sort of wide Herving Lozano, Politano, Insigne, Mertens to come off the bench if you like, Victor Osimhen, who is just looks like he may be the new phenom. His hero is Didier Drogba, and he could grow into something like a Didier Drogba. I have a really cool story to tell about him. He was born in Olusun. It's the largest waste dump in Lagos in Nigeria, and his family, or thousands of people, congregate there to pick stuff out of the waste to try to sell them. And his mom died when he was a kid, and after that, he and his brothers, his dad lost his job. He and his brothers had to they had jobs on the street selling in traffic, selling newspapers, trying to sell water to try to get by. And he met a football scout that put him in touch with a guy called Emmanuel, or not Emmanuel Emenike. I'm thinking of a different Emenike. It's Emmanuel Emenike, who played for Inter Milan about 10 years ago, and he got him into an academy, the Elite Strikers Academy in Lagos. And from there, he went to Wolfsburg, had a bad time because he was too young. He went to Sporting Charleroi, absolutely lit it up there, and then Napoli signed him for. He went to Lille, sorry. He was player of the month for at least 1 month. Lille. I think Napoli signed him for 40 million. He's only a 22-year-old, 6'3".
I think it was even more, Was it just 40 million? I think
it could have been 50, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But I remember it was huge for such a young striker, but he's looked really, really, he's really pacey, he's really hard to mark. I'm a huge fan of his so far.
I want just to, yes. If I'm not wrong, if I'm going wrong, it was the most expensive signing in Napoli's history. So last season he had a very bad spell. Oh yeah, actually, it was signed for 70 million. Yeah, it was really, really expensive back then. So yeah, it's starting to pay off because last season it looked like a big flop, a big disappointment for for the whole team. But this year is finally starting to pay back his price. Once you have this nickname of the most expensive player in your club, well, you better be good or it's gonna go. Everything is gonna go south.
I also love their signing of Anguissa from Fulham. He looked in spells very, very good, but he's really combative, like Cameroonian centre midfielder. Looked really good. They still have Fabian pulling the strings, the Spanish midfielder. I just really like this Napoli team this year. I think they're going to be so hard to beat.
Well, they've been seen as well. I wouldn't. We shouldn't forget about him because I think he's a very good player. Sometimes he just switches off. I will say I don't want to say it disappears, but there are some moments in which it's like trying to do the same thing, trying to do the same skill, the same shot, and he fails. But broadly speaking, I think it will be a really valuable player to the whole team.
Like Ngui said, like these are perfect players for Napoli. They're brilliant for so much. Like they look unbeatable, brilliant players, and then they just get that one little patch. Lozano is another one. Like he's been talked about for 6 years now. Like I know he's still young, but like when it really matters, I just can't. Until they go and do something, you can't trust. Like I just don't trust them. Insigne is another one. I love Insigne. I think he's a brilliant player, and like he was brilliant for Italy at the Euros, I thought. But like again, like he was part of that Napoli team when they really needed something. They just couldn't do it.
I know.
I can see the same thing happening to them.
Yeah,
I actually think Milan could be the danger to Juve.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous team as well. The best player, okay, the most representative is surely Ibrahimovic, but he has had some injuries, he has had some physical problem. I think the most dangerous player, one of the best player of the Serie A is playing in Milan, and it is Teo Hernandez. That is absolutely outrageous at times. I don't really know how it was possible that Real Madrid sold him, how they managed to give him away to AC Milan, but it is something that I will never understand because it's if not the best, one of the best left back in Europe. And it's crazy to see his pace, to see how he contributes to the team, his stamina. It's incredible. So you have surely Ibrahimovic or Maignan that is unfortunately injured, or Tomori are good players, but I think that the most representative is Teo Hernandez without any doubt.
And I like Rafael Leo as well. He looks a very exciting player.
Yeah, that is another interesting prospect as well. Yeah, I agree absolutely.
I'm going to throw in Alexis Sailmakers as well, 22-year-old winger, the Belgian. I really like him as a prospect. Like, as well, Franck Kessie is quite a good player. He can be. Benacer is a good player. Like, they do have a little bit of depth. Sandro Tonali might finally become the player that they thought he would be. They were talking about him like a mix of Gattuso and Pirlo 3 years ago. Maybe we'll see. You know, he scored the last day. But yeah, I think for me it's Napoli and then Milan second, and then I just don't know about Inter without Lukaku, and I can't back Juventus without a striker. Playing Bernardeschi Chiesa will not get you enough goals, I think.
I think the same. Juventus is lacking a top class striker because I don't think Morata I think that Morata and Keane are fairly good strikers, but it's not what can win you the championship. But you know, maybe they will do something good even without a world class striker. They have good players in the team. They have a strong defense. They have a guy that I'm really in love with, that is Federico Chiesa, and they bought Locatelli. They brought in Locatelli. So
Dybala.
yeah, you know, Dybala. Yeah, Dybala could be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about Dybala. It's yet to see. He has gone. He has alternated good moments, bad moments. If I have to say a name I really trust is Federico Chiesa. I really trust the guy. I don't know about the others, but I really trust him.
But the one thing about them, like even already you can see it. Like Morata has 2, Keane has 2, Dybala has 2, Locatelli has 2. They do have a good spread of, like, if the striker doesn't score, they do have goals from midfield. And Dybala was very good under Allegri in his first spell before the Ronaldo and all that. The joke that was going on there, but he was very good under Allegri before. Maybe he can get the best out of him again, but it remains to be seen. The jury's definitely out on him.
Yeah, I think it's a big mystery because he has always had these physical problems. He has always had problems in and out the pitch. So I don't know. I think that this year it could be easier if he wants to and if his body allows him to. So we shall see. You know,
Juventus wished they sold him for 70 million a couple of years ago. When
Sorry?
Juventus will have wished they sold him for 70 million when all the hype was there. To sell him like that would have been because
it could be
a little bit like Insigne sometimes, where sometimes he does stuff and you're like, wow, that is world class, but there's no consistency there. But more consistency with Insigne, I think.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I think I missed the last bit.
Oh no, I just think very similar to Insigne in that there's world class moments, but lacks consistency that way.
Yeah.
Paolo, I'm sorry to interrupt. Last couple of minutes.
No, go.
Give me your Champions League winner for this year.
Oh, today is very difficult question day.
It is. Well, it's never easy on Hunchtime.
Surely, I think that I was about to say something surely, but nothing is for sure. I really think that Bayern Munich has always have a really good team, so I would say their name. But it's also true that Chelsea has a not bad squad depth, so I will say between these two. I don't want to go cliche and say Paris Saint-Germain because I don't think they're gonna win the Champions League. And now that I've said this, surely they're gonna win. That's what always happens. But no, honestly, I would rule them out. Maybe I'm gonna regret saying this, but I would rule them out. So yeah, I will say Chelsea.
Chelsea, Mr. Lunchtime. In a word, I'm sorry, we got to cut it off.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Bayern Munich too. I know they're the favourites. There's 3 teams favourites, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me again. That was awesome, and we will
Thanks
do
to
it
you.
at the end of the season.
Thanks, Paolo.
Thanks to you.
To everybody who's listened, thank you so much. If you want to show your support, send this in a WhatsApp message or tell your friends in the pub about Hunchtime Podcast and like us or subscribe us. Have a lovely week and a lovely life.